I guess welcome back, this is Pratik. In the last video, we saw what Playwright MCP is and why do we even need it. We also took our testing website SauceDemo, configured the MCP server in Cursor, and asked it to look at our website and suggest us some good test cases for the login scenarios. And we saw that Cursor was able to leverage the Playwright MCP configured and its tool and was able to open our website, explore the flows, and suggested us some good test cases. And we were at the end also able to implement the complete spec file with it. If you have not watched that video, I have added the video link in the description. You should definitely watch it. And let's start this video now. So in this video, we're gonna explore the different way of using Playwright MCP Cursor. In our first video, we took it in terms of exploration, and this video is going to be more about where we already have the test cases, and we are gonna ask Cursor or Playwright MCP to basically use those test cases and based on that explore the website and then implement the scenarios and the complete spec file with it. Okay, let's discuss what scenario we are going to take in this demo. So here we'll take an end-to-end scenario where we'll expect once the user is logged in, he should be able to complete the checkout process for any item present on the inventory page. Let's say we took this as the item, we click on add to cart button and then we click on the cart icon. It should take you to the cart list page. In this cart, you should be able to see what all items you have added from the inventory page. You click on the checkout, fill form with the random data, then you go to the next step, and then final step is you make the payment and you click on the finish button. And once you do that, you're expecting to see this thank you for your order screen, which verifies that you have successfully completed the checkout process for the inventory item. Okay, then let's see this in action. I have opened the cursor and the Playwright MCP is already configured, so I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to open the chat and I'm going to use a simple prompt again that please open fresh browser using Playwright MCP and write this spec file for the checkout scenario. Name it as checkout.spec.ts and keep it under test folder. We also gonna give a bit more information. The scenario we expect to automate is that user, after successfully logging in, should be able to add any item from the inventory cart and should be able to complete the checkout process for it. Please first explore this scenario using Playwright MCP tools, and based on your exploration, first let me know what all scenarios you have identified around this code scenario to automate, and then implement that in the spec file. Okay, I'm gonna one more information is the website is, let's copy paste the website, and for valid login use standard user as the username and secret sauce as the password. Okay, now I'm just gonna hit enter and see it in action. I will split the screen. Okay, as you see, it has opened the browser again. It is trying to run the clicks and explore the website as expected, and even it has identified that instead of one item, it's trying to add the multiple item. It has identified that for this code scenario we should do more, and now it is asking me to allow some command, which is to browser evaluate. Let's click on run. Okay, great. He was not able to find the shopping cart link, so he took a look at our DOM and found it out, and then the same thing is doing for the. Now let's see what is happening on the screen. Okay, it seems it has reached to the form page, and I think this is going to pick a scenario where it is trying to add multiple items to the cart. And I think it has identified all the scenarios, and as I mentioned in the prompt, first let me know what a scenario is going to implement. So these are the list of scenarios. I think it picked up the checkout flow, the basic checkout flow which we asked or described it in the prompt, and then it also figured it out that around the same scenarios it could also validate the single item checkout, multiple item checkout, the cart management that we are able to add or remove item from the cart, form validation, order summary verification, and the completion. And now it is creating the comprehensive test spec file, and then let's see. If you want, you could also restrict it to only do what you want, only do what steps you wanted to perform. You could basically feed the steps also in the prompt. That way it won't explore around and will return the result more faster. But we just wanted to see how smart the AI is, and with just one prompt, it is able to identify all the code scenarios around it, and it has even implemented the checkout.spec.ts file. Now we'll just go a bit, we'll go to the next step and we'll ask, can you also run the spec file and see if all test cases are passing? Okay, so it has opened a sandbox terminal in the chat window itself, and it has run the test cases, and the test cases are in progress right now. Let's see the results, what happened. Okay, as you see, I can see that 9 out of 10 tests passed, but there's one test failing due to a timeout issue. The failing test is back to products from checkout, and it even tried to fix the code. If you see the code, it has tried to fix here, and then it has even retried the test cases, and it found out that all the test cases are passing. So all you had to do with the start with the prompt, it even identified all the scenarios around your baseline, and it even ran it, executed it, and even for the failed test cases, it was able to heal the test cases also. Cool. I think that's how smart it is. Now, in the next step, we're gonna see that the correct way of passing a prompt is a bit more refined than what I did. The correct way to pass the prompt is using a prompt.md file. The Markdown is a convention how you are supposed to pass the prompts to the cursor. Okay, so we saw that how Playwright was able to identify all the scenarios around the base scenario we gave. It even executed all the scenarios. For one of the test cases was failing, it even fixed that also, and everything it was able to do it on its own, right? I think we should also explore what kind of test cases or how it is writing the test cases, and we'll see any opportunity of optimization we see here, and we can ask the cursor to do that. So let's see. I think whatever it is doing right now, it's very much similar to the test cases or the test steps you could generate using Playwright IDE or the recorder, right? You could basically run the steps manually, and Playwright recorder or IDE should be able to capture all those steps, all the actions you are trying to perform, and even you can even run assertions over it. I think it is doing exactly and generating a similar output to it, right? Now there are some opportunities we see in terms of the test writing or the code writing, is that everything is written in one spec file. Everything is hard coded in the test steps. For example, the name of the backpack or the name of the inventory item, the cost of the inventory item, even the locators, etc. Okay, now let's go a step further, and this time I'm gonna not use Playwright MCP for it. I'm just gonna quickly demonstrate you how you could use Cursor and any of the AI model integrated with it to basically refactor your test cases into more of a framework structure. So we're gonna just take the generated test cases as an example, and I'm gonna ask that I would like to refactor this spec file and do not want to use any hard coded data in it. For example, inventory name and its price should be generic. Similarly, we should create some reusable functions like add to cart, remove from cart, etc. And let's quickly implement the page object model approach and create a folder called pages and implement the test cases according to it. Whenever you are doing this, make sure you add this also, that please keep it simple and don't over complicate it, because I've seen it that whenever you are trying to use prompt like mine and generally don't request it to keep it simple, it will be able to refactor but might give you a very over engineered or over complicated scenario, which is not what you need. So let's see this in action and see what kind of structure it is able to generate. So basically with this, I'm trying to show you that how AI is able to assist us in terms of exploration, even the test case writing, the test case implementation, and even the framework refactoring, framework modeling also. So we're just going to see that how it is going to implement the pages, and we see that it has implemented the page object model for all the pages it encountered during the test execution flow. It implemented the page object model accordingly. For example, inventory page, you see all the locators we are using, it has edited, and even the reusable functions, as I mentioned, that add item to cart, remove item from cart, go to cart, etc. It has done that everything here, and it even created a helper method where you could get the data of your particular inventory item, and then it is based on what it has implemented. It has even trying to refactor the checkout.spec.ts file, and then see how it has refactored it, and you just had to give it a prompt and it has done that. I'm just basically giving you a demo to explain how easy it is to take the AI assistance in terms of test case planning to implementation and even the framework design also. But yeah, please keep in mind, you should be aware about what you are trying to do, what kind of design do you need, and accordingly prompt the cursor or any AI that you are using to basically keep according to your design guideline, according to your expectations, because you should control the AI, and you should take the AI help as like you are instructing an intern. Like what kind of output do you want? You should be able to guide it. So for that, your basics should be, your fundamentals should be very clear. Then only you would be able to take the correct leverage of all these tools and the assistance being provided, right? Now I'm just gonna click on keep all. Now if you see, you should not blindly accept whatever is being given to you. You should also see if you want to make some refinement over it. For example, in the page object model, I want to go by the documentation and say that I want to initialize the constructor, initialize the locators in the constructor with the read-only approach. So I'll just say that I want page object to follow this, that all the locators are being initialized in the constructor. Second, and also I want you to use area based locator wherever possible, like get by role, etc., to increase the readability. Okay, let's do that. Also, one more change I would like to edit here is adding test.step. So I also want to add test.step in all the actions so that our reports are readable. Okay, let's see this in action. Okay, and I think it has refactored all the page objects as we wanted. So yeah, basically I wanted to tell you that whatever is being given to you, you should refine over it. You should know beforehand what kind of design do you want, how do you want to structure everything, what kind of file structure do you want, how do you want to like for example, how do you want the logging, how do you want test.step, how do you want initialization, what kind of locators you want to prefer. So yeah, all this information you should know beforehand, because accordingly you should be able to guide the AI to implement the solution, right? So I'm going to show you that how we should refine our prompts, right? So first of all, I won't be able to keep the same chat window alive and keep using this window for all my next items I want to include in our test cases, right? So I want something reusable. So the best thing is you should be able to create prompt.md files or any markdown formatted files. So I'm going to show you an example. For example, in this chat window only, since it has most of the context, most of the refinement, and it knows what kind of refinement I needed, what kind of refinement it did to match my expectations. I'm going to say that based on our conversation in this chat window, in terms of how I want to design page object models, test cases, and the test cases and the locators. Can you create a reusable page objects prompt.md file so that we can use that to pick on the next items, right? Let's just hit enter and see. So now see what kind of prompt it has generated based on the conversation I had with it. Okay, so as we see that it has already created the file and has also summarized what it has done. So for example, it has added the design principles, detailed guidelines, best practices, and implementation checklist. So let's see what kind of prompt it has created. So yeah, if you see this prompt, it has made a list of the principles we should use. Like for example, how do I want to structure my page objects? What kind of locators I would like to prefer while creating the page objects, and the test step integrations. And I would like to prefer the approach of test data. And it has even added a template so that all the next page objects which are coming in, or I'm gonna add in this framework, should follow the same kind of templated approach. And then the test file is structured. So as you see, that how we started with a simple prompt, then refined the test cases, the framework structure. So based on that, I even created a reusable prompt, and this prompt.md is the most optimized way to give the context while chatting with AI or while giving your task. So that, for example, next time I want to add a new page object, I'm not gonna repeat myself in terms of what structure I want, what kind of design I want. I can just put this prompt in the context, and so basically I will be able to understand while implementing that what kind of guideline it has to follow based on this. Okay, let's do this with a more refined approach this time. And for this, what I'll do is I'll pass the test cases in a markdown file, and we'll instruct the AI to only limit the exploration regarding these scenarios and only implement these scenarios, right? And the structure of this file is very simple, that I'm going to just give the test cases, the title of the test cases, the steps it needs to execute the test cases, and what is the expected result. And we'll just cover two scenarios. One is to add one item to the card, and one is to add the multiple item to the card and verify that the user is able to check it out or to complete the checkout process. Okay, let me open the AI chat. So this time the prompt we'll use will be more refined in terms of we'll pass the context of the test cases we want to execute from this file, as well as once it has identified all the locators and elements it needs to complete the particular flow, we will first ask it to implement the raw test cases, run it. If needed, then fix it. Once it is done, then move to the refactoring step. And for the refactoring, I mean refactoring the test case into page object model approach. And for that, we already have the guidelines defined. So we'll pass that as the context, and we'll expect that we need less of the feedback this time, and the output result is more refined and is as per more of our what we expected it to do as per our guidelines. Okay. So the prompt I have already written, so I'll just copy paste the prompt. Let me show you the prompt. Prompt is very simple, that please implement the test cases outlined in this particular prompt file and then stick only to these scenarios. While implementing, please follow the page object structure outlined in this prompt file, right? Then I've added the detail that start exploring first as per the scenario outlines. Use Playwright MCP to for it. Open the fresh browser, understand the DOM structure, understand what kind of elements it wants to use, and also want to then and also have added that please use semantic locators as much as possible. And whenever the ambiguity is there, it could try to use locator filters, right? Then start implementing the test cases. The first step is implement the raw test cases, run it, see if it all are passing. If not, then fix the test cases. If needed for it, use the Playwright MCP again to launch the new browser, identify what locator should be and what it has used, and accordingly complete this. And once everything is passing, refactor the test cases. Let's hit enter. Let me split the screen. Okay, just open the browser. And it is trying to, I think, evaluate the DOM structure and everything. It came back to the page and then I did one item in the cart, check it out. Now it has completed the checkout process. And I think that's it. That's what it needed. And now it will start, move to the next step, which was to implement the raw test cases. And we have already deleted all the pages and tests so that we can see how it performs when there is nothing to refer to, only stick to the guidelines or the steps we have defined in the prompts. Also, the correct way or the more optimized way is to create a framework design prompt.md file where you can define everything in terms of page object, the test case design, the base classes, the wrapper methods, etc. I think it already identified. It tried to run it. It found out that there was an issue. It fixed those test cases. Then it ran it again. And then since everything is working now, our next step was then you can move to refactoring. So that's what it is doing now. Right. So that was the raw file, and now it will try to create the refactoring, and the refactoring it is doing. Now this time I don't need to instruct it to use the constructor initialization approach, use the tester step file, because everything we had already defined as the guideline in the page object model prompt, right? It has created all the pages needed to complete that scenarios, and yes, now it has created a file called checkout form.spec.ts. So ideally the file naming convention, the test naming convention, or more refined steps in terms of like once you have identified that the raw test cases are working, the refactor test cases are working, then you should delete the raw test cases. That's how we could have instructed it to do it, right? And then it even tried to run the refactor test cases, found out that there was an issue in it. It fixed the refactor test cases also, and that's it. Everything is fine now. And all the test cases passed. I think what it did this time, they tried to run both raw and the refactored. But as I was mentioning, that you should create more refined steps in terms of you could instruct it to delete the raw files once the refactored file is approached, because there is no point of repeating it, right? So yes, that's it. That's all I wanted to show you, that how you could start from the exploration, get the test cases from the Playwright itself, document the test cases in the Markdown file. In the next time, you can use those test cases as the reference, and you can create your framework level prompt where you can define the strategy you need in terms of what kind of page object model you want to use, what kind of naming convention, what kind of locator you would like to prefer, where do you want to store the test cases, test data, etc. Right? Once everything is defined, outlined, you can start adding your test cases, refine it with feedback, and when you basically refine this, always ensure that you keep updating your prompt. Now, in terms of prompt design, there are multiple approaches to write the optimized prompt, like the multi-shot prompt and other prompts. We will cover them in probably next videos, but for in context of this video, that's all I wanted to show, and I think this should be helpful to you. In the next video, we'll cover how to use the Playwright MCP extension and what are the use cases for it. Okay, thank you.